Mr. Thomas Legeret's career with DLA started as a GS5 property marketing specialist and culminated in his serving as DLA Disposition Services Director of Disposal Operations. He drove major innovations, establishing the Controlled Property Verification Office, transferring function of the Law Enforcement Support Office, supporting numerous natural disasters, and standing up the Consolidated Long-Term Storage for DLA Disposition Services at Columbus. He helped move DLA Disposition Services forward to support the warfighter and to provide innovative disposal solutions for the future. Mr. Michael Cannon, Director of DLA Disposition Services, will tell us a little bit about why he nominated Mr. Legeret for induction into the DLA Hall of Fame.
Our inductee this year is Mr. Tom Legeret. Tom spent 32 years in DLA Disposition Services. He actually came to us from Fish and Wildlife because they would lay him off in the winters in Michigan because it's so cold, and he needed a full-time job. And he was going to do that for a couple of years, and 32 years later, he retired as our Director of Operations. In those 32 years, he oversaw some very significant improvements in the disposal network. He led the transition of the Law Enforcement Support Office from DLA headquarters out here to Battle Creek. He helped design our first commercial venture sales program where we do public sales through a large commercial venture instead of trying to do it individually at 50 or 60 or 80 sites. Not only did that help us financially, it helped us with fraud, waste, and abuse by minimizing that, but that foresight that he had is also helping us right now with audit, because it's much easier to audit a single commercial venture as it is to audit 50 or 60 independent operations. One of the operational impacts that Tom left on the organization was the development of our long-term storage facility at Columbus. There was an issue with Congress and legal with the release of certain types of controlled property, and there was a concern about disposing of them if we needed them later, and other concerns about selling them and releasing them to the public. So he developed a method and an operation whereby we could store this stuff for long term at a location where it was secure, and then we could reuse it to military as required. So over the course of the time that we had to do that, we've reused millions of dollars of property back to Department of Defense. Now, over the years, we've been able to work through some of the congressional and legal issues, and we don't need to store that vast amount of property for that length of time. But the fact that we have that facility has allowed us to convert the facility into one that supports the warfighter today by giving us an overflow operation for our trucks. So if a site at a military base is overwhelmed with turn-ins, we now have the capacity within the network to absorb that work at the facility that Tom brought on board several years ago for a totally different purpose. But I will tell you, his most lasting impact on DLA is the leaders in DLA today. He was a leader who developed leaders. If you look at the key leaders, senior leaders across DLA Disposition Services, almost to a person, they list Tom Legeret as one of their mentors, coaches, leaders, supervisors, cajolers, someone who developed them into the leaders they are today. And to me, that's his lasting impact, because they, in turn, are going to develop tomorrow's leaders. Tom, I want to congratulate you on your well-deserved selection to the DLA Hall of Fame. You're one of the rare Disposition Services individuals who had an impact not just on this part of the organization, but on all of DLA, and it is well-deserved. I want to wish you and Mary the best in your retirement, and the next time you're in Battle Creek, I'll be happy to help you add to your beer can collection.
Hi, I'm Tom Legeret, and I'm coming to you from the foothills of the Smoky Mountains. I want to say how humbled I am to receive such an honor, and thank Vice Admiral Skubic and the folks up at DLA for inducting me into the DLA Hall of Fame. I also like to thank Mr. Cannon and all the folks back at Battle Creek for putting me in for this award. Now, an award like this is not due to one's own accomplishments, but is more like a team award that is reflects all the efforts of those around me that helped shape my career. So I need to thank all the supervisors and command staff for their guidance and their mentoring and their leadership, my coworkers for their support, and of course, all the great folks who worked for me over the years. They were the ones who got the mission done. They were the ones who implemented the initiatives. I couldn't have done it without them. Of course, it helps to have a great team support at home as well. So I'd like to give a shout out to my daughters, Julie and Pamela, for their support. They're the reasons I went to work every day. And to my wife, Mary Legeret, a DLA employee who deserves one of these awards based on her own merits. The hardest 10 months I had working at DLA was waiting for her to come back from Iraq after establishing the DRMOs over there. You know, I never meant to work at DLA. I started my career in the prairie pothole country of northwestern Minnesota. But after working part-time for 4 years, I decided to take a position at DLA Battle Creek with the intention of rotating back after I had 1 year in permanent status. So that was my intention when I walked up those steps in September of 1980. What I hadn't expected to find was an organization of hardworking folks doing a very important mission. And what I hadn't expected to find was a work atmosphere that was more like family than work. And it was hard to leave that family 30 plus years later when I left the building for the last time. Over the course of my career, I've had the privilege of presiding over retirement ceremonies. And what I tried to stress to those attendants, particularly if there was family members present, was the important work that their father or mother or spouse did for the government, did for the country. I think too often we don't tell those we love or our acquaintances or friends the important mission that DLA does, providing the warfighter with just about everything they need to do their job, and then having their back when it comes time to disposing of those items in the proper manner. That mission hits a little closer to home nowadays, as we're blessed to have a son-in-law who's in Army Special Forces. What you do helps him do his job better. And it's important that you keep doing that job, not just for him and all his fellow airmen, and soldiers, and sailors, but for their families and for this country. So I want to thank DLA again for this great award and to say it was such an honor to work for such a great organization.